So today I'm joined by amazing Emma, the made up mom, uh, who runs her courses in walking and surround walking. And I've just finished Emma's course, and it's been an amazing journey. And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot of new techniques. How can I meditate? How can I relieve my stress? Also tips. How can I handle my not so easy 3.5 years old? And also we had an amazing pamper session. What was a great joy for everyone. So now I know Emma. I know Emma a bit more, and I know that you've been on a long journey to get here where you are now. That you are actually actively helping moms or pregnant women as well with motherhood and with every issue. So can you just please take as long as you want to just tell us how did you get here, and everything about the made up mom.
Sure, thank you, Dora. So I became a first-time mum in 2016 with my son, and I didn't particularly enjoy being pregnant. Had some complications at the beginning, and it took me a long time to feel him move. So I really struggled to have that bond with my bum. And everybody said to me, oh, when he's born, you'll get this overwhelming rush of love. Don't worry, it will be fine. And I had probably not a medically traumatic birth, but it was quite a long birth, and it wasn't the experience that I'd perhaps envisaged. So the start of his life in this world for me was just filled with like confusion and, you know, real feeling of being overwhelmed. I, you know, didn't sort of have an instant connection with him, which, you know, was really sad. I felt like I didn't know what to do as a mum. And you know, when the health visitors and midwives checked in on me in those first couple of weeks, they said, obviously, you know, first couple of weeks is quite normal to feel down. You know, I was crying most days. I'd feel very anxious about nighttime because he was very nocturnal. So he didn't sleep a lot at night at all. And every time our friends came around to see him in the day, he was always sleeping. So I would get really bad anxiety about nighttime, knowing that I wouldn't get any sleep and that he'd constantly feed. And to be honest, I just continued to struggle. I then went back to work full time when he was only 12.5 weeks old, because I worked for an American company, so just had 3 months maternity leave. And I threw myself into work and still really struggled to get that bond with my son. And to cut a long story short, at about 12 months postpartum, I had a health visitor review, and she asked me questions about my son, which I could answer with ease. And when she asked me about how I was doing, I just broke down in tears and said that I wasn't coping. I was finding it really hard. He still wasn't sleeping. And she just gave me this massive hug and this reassurance and said, right, we need to call the doctor and get you fixed. It really sounds like you're struggling with postnatal depression. And she gave me the questionnaire to fill out. And she said I was scoring really highly. So she actually made me call my GP there and then to get an emergency appointment that day, as I was in quite a lot of a state and very upset, as you can imagine. But going to the GP and being told that it was actually a chemical imbalance in my brain and it wasn't actually my fault, was just this massive weight lifted off my shoulders. And he recommended that I undertook some counselling, some medication, and that was the start of my recovery journey. But I've always been quite active into fitness, as yourself, Dora, and I really found that helped me give myself some motivation, some clarity in my mind, and I looked for some other coping techniques as well. So I started studying mindfulness and also self-care as well. I've always worked in makeup and beauty, so I kind of had that skill set already, but I tried to combine them all. And summer last year, made the decision to take a career break, leave my role in cosmetics area management, and start studying mindfulness, mental health as well. And now I'm using my own personal experience and also my qualifications to help others, because I think what I really wanted to create was a resource that I wished I'd have had after having my son, but one that's still very relevant for any stage of parenting. So for instance, the women that have just come on the course, there was one with an 8-month-old and a lady with a 17-year-old. Yet the content was relevant for everybody, because we all have different daily struggles and successes as a parent. And I think it's really important to provide that support network. So there we have it. That's the Made Up Mum journey.
So you went back to full-time work when your son was 12.5 weeks. So basically it means that you were struggling for like 8 months plus that 12.5 weeks before it was all like recognized and diagnosed. Oh my, I'm sure it was really, really hard.
Yeah. It was very tough, and I did. I knew something wasn't right, and I did. I saw a leaflet for some online counselling when my son was about 8 months old. So I did do that, and that's a free service that I recommend to a lot of women that come to my courses. It's online therapy that's run in association with the NHS, and the online counsellor did say that he thought I had postnatal depression. But at that point I thought, oh well, because he's told me that and he's given me some advice, I can make myself better. And obviously that wasn't the case. So it was another 4 months you know, down the line that I then was able to get some support and do something about it.
I know from like, my experience as well, when it's getting too much and too overwhelming, or you don't know what to do. What I personally do is just like keep myself as busy as I can and sort of keep my head out from the water so I can like still breathe, but I feel that it's just getting more and more. And then when people ask me, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, everything is fine, it's all good, great. And then you get to a point where you got to with your 1-year check with your son, when you just burst into tears. And it happened to me on your course as well.
Yeah.
Get to the point when you just, no, I'm not right. It's getting a bit too much.
Absolutely.
I know it's something what we could talk about for hours and hours, but in a nutshell, how mindfulness can help moms in daily life.
So mindfulness is amazing at many things, because I started exploring mindfulness to help with symptoms of anxiety. When my mind would be rushing at 1,000,000 miles an hour, I would have so much to do, or perhaps I'd feel maybe a bit of a panic attack coming on. And I would use mindfulness such as guided meditation, mindful yoga, mindful eating or drinking to calm myself down. But also one of the biggest uses I found for mindfulness is actually the time playing with my son. So for instance, whenever we'd go for a walk, I'd always just be thinking about the destination we were going to. So if that was going to the shop, I'd just be, come on, let's go. Whereas mindfulness has really helped me that if we've got no time constraints, it doesn't matter how long it takes us to walk there, and I can enjoy jumping in the puddles together, or crunching on the leaves, or watching the birds in the trees. And it just makes it a simple moment, makes it more of a magical experience. And at that point in time, because I'm being present, I'm there for my son more, but also I'm not having the distractions of work and business in my brain. I'm able to give my time to my son, and that's what I wasn't able to do before. So I would definitely recommend it, even if it's a few minutes a day. Mindfulness can really just help relax and reduce the feelings of anxiety, depression, self-doubt, and also help you feel calm before bed if you struggle with insomnia or struggling to sleep as well.
Oh, thank you. So you've just said one example. How do you practice mindfulness in your daily life? So if you just can tell us a few other bits as well. And also, what do you recommend for moms who are newbie to mindfulness? How to start this journey? Obviously, apart from finding you and joining your courses, but how can we start practicing it?
Sure. So when you first experience mindfulness, it's really important not to plan any expectations and to feel like suddenly if you're going to meditate or practice mindfulness that you're going to achieve instant enlightenment, because that can lead to disappointment. So it's really important to practice any kind of mindfulness with a really open heart, open mind, and just go for it for the experience, regardless of whatever the outcome is. Some really simple techniques of mindfulness, obviously I've talked about when you're playing or walking, etc. But that could even be drinking a cup of tea mindfully. And it sounds really silly, but it's almost slowing it all down and realizing what you're actually doing. So, you know, when you're holding the tea, it's being mindful of the warmth on your hands and how that makes you feel. As you take the cup towards your face, it's, you know, smelling the aroma and again allowing that to relax you. When you taste it, actually properly tasting it rather than gulping it down or eating things really quickly that we do in everyday life, but really being aware then of the warmth as it travels through your body. And just a simple experience like that for a couple of minutes by drinking or eating mindfully can again really relax the mind and bring you back into the present moment. Things like where we do the pamper session at the course, I use a lot of aromatherapy products. So it does border on self-care, but also mindfully washing your face and actually breathing in the scents and the aromas and letting them relax you and feeling the water on your skin and using a couple of massaging motions to really just enjoy that present moment and allow it to relax you. So you can implement mindfulness in several of your daily tasks that you already do, so you don't have to create extra time to fit it in. Thank you. Sorry, little interruption from a little boy with a mug.
Valentine's Day is coming, so
yeah, Mummy's doing some work. There you go, darling. Good boy.
Also, what I know a lot of people are struggling fall asleep because of the thought. I don't have any problems falling asleep, luckily, because of my thought. Because once I'm in bed, I'm I'm dead. But I really like that train station little lamp. And I use it now every day, and I use it a lot. So would you mind just telling what is it really with the thoughts in our brain?
When I was having counselling sessions, I would talk a lot about what we call intrusive thoughts. So these are unhelpful or unpleasant thoughts that we can either overanalyze, get ourselves worked up about, things that can make us feel quite anxious. And she said to me, well, imagine that your mind is a train station and every single one of your thoughts is a train. And at the moment, all of them come through the station and you jump on every single train. So you're jumping on every thought that's going to take you to an unpleasant destination. You actually have the control in your mind on that train station to jump on the trains that you want to go on. So if there is an anxious or an intrusive thought coming through your mind, you can acknowledge it. It's there, it's happened, but you can then let it pass through and continue on its way. Or if you've failed to let the train go through, and you're on that train, you can tell it to stop and you can get off at any time. And just by that analogy, and like you say, Dora, with yourself, implementing it into your everyday life, it's massively helped me avoid a panic attack, because I'm not allowing those thoughts to take over my whole brain. And of course, acknowledge them, because we all have them. But then actually the thoughts that I want to indulge in and spend more time thinking about are the more pleasant and the happier thoughts. So it just makes my mind a bit of a healthier place. And a lot of the mums on the group actually said that that was one of the most helpful ways in which they could control their unhelpful thoughts.
Yeah, I think I found absolutely amazing this technique. And before I started using it, sometimes, well, yeah, quite at myself to go into deep, like bad deep thoughts and just like wind myself up, or just feel really rubbish because of these bad thoughts in my mind. And since I'm practicing it, actually, I'm staying and realizing that it's me who is controlling my thoughts and not my thoughts are controlling me. And it's really nice.
That's amazing to hear. I'm so pleased.
So I remember I had a friend, well, a mate really. So we got close like friends after my son was born, and that was the time she fell pregnant. And then she's very excited about her pregnancy, and she really loved my son, and we became very close friends. And once her daughter was born, she completely changed. And I know 100% sure that she had postnatal depression. And back that time, I gathered that something is not right with her. And I thought, okay, she might have that. But I had no clue like what to do. And obviously, I invited her to play dates with other moms who I already had because of my son. And we kept chatting, but she completely changed. And in about 6-7 months, our relationship or whatever friendship ended. And what would you recommend someone who notices that, okay, with my friend or family member after having a baby, there is something not right with her, and if you suspect that she has postnatal depression, so what's the best thing to do?
It's really difficult with this one because sometimes when you're an individual struggling with your mental health, if you're not ready yet to admit it to yourself, you're going to struggle to admit it to someone else. But in terms of classic signs and symptoms, that can range from, feeling low or depressed, feeling quite hopeless, crying quite a lot of the time, unable to get enjoyment out of experiences that previously you might have done. Feeling exhausted all the time, which obviously as new mums often you feel exhausted, but then it would be even when the baby's asleep, being unable to sleep yourself. But also you can shy away from social situations. So for instance, in myself, I just found that I couldn't organise my day well enough to reply to messages from all of my friends. And days would go by before I'd remember that somebody had messaged me. I don't know if it was linked, but I really struggled with my memory as well, probably due to the tiredness. So I probably strained a lot of relationships. And also I was really wary about who I spoke to about how I was feeling, but also felt that I had to keep up appearances with certain people. So for instance, with a group of mums, if everybody seems like they've got it all together and, their children are well behaving or great sleepers or feeding really well, and you're the mum that the child isn't, often you may put on this mask and this bit of a front and not feel like you want to open up and say that you're struggling. So if you do feel someone is struggling with their mental health, I would recommend having a one-on-one conversation in an environment they feel comfortable in, whether that's their home or your home, etc. A safe environment where they're not going to be watched or feel like they're being judged by anybody else. And it's always to take that second, are you okay? Because that first time we always ask anyone, are you okay? It's just habit to say, yeah, I'm fine, even if you're having the worst day ever. So it's really important to ask for that second time, say, are you sure? And, you could say, oh, you just don't seem yourself today. Is there anything I can help you with? Or is there anything you want to talk about? But it's really important as well that person doesn't feel pressured into sharing. So I think if you have got that kind of relationship, don't give up straight away, but ultimately friendships do naturally run their courses anyway. So regardless of whether that has anything to do with mental health, I think it's really important not to feel too much guilt or responsibility for that other person as well. I know I lost a few friends after having my son because, you know, my mentality and my mindset changed. I wasn't able to go out all the time or make arrangements and plans because my husband was working nights as well. And some friendships just naturally ran their course. But I found it was easier for me to discuss it when I was actually ready, darling, and I was able to admit it to myself, and then I felt more comfortable talking to other people. So as I was saying, if somebody is really struggling and they've started to open up and you think actually they might need a little bit of help or support, I do have a lot of resources, website links, etc., all on my website. But as I mentioned earlier, the online counselling is really helpful. It might even be that they could speak to a partner or somebody else in their family as well, just so that they know they've got that extra support. But definitely, if you think that past a couple of weeks postpartum, if somebody does seem really down still, do recommend that they see their GP, but perhaps send somebody with them, because obviously GPs deal with a range of ailments every day, and at not any time was my postnatal depression picked up, even though I'd be crying at the doctor's surgery all the time with my son's various illnesses like tonsillitis and croup, etc. Obviously in a 10-minute slot they don't necessarily have the time to be able to give you that full care, so it is best to try and get that diagnosis early on and get that help and support that's needed.
Yeah, thank you. That's very helpful. Also, what I think that, and not disrespect to GPs, but quite often they just prescribe you some antidepressants and then like leave you on your own, and there are more help out there, not just the medication. And I think not all cases, but quite a few cases, it can be solved without medication. If they are in right hands.
Yeah, I think if it's captured early on and somebody has the right support network and access to things like CBT therapy and counselling, it's always good to try that first. For myself, the medication was absolutely vital in my recovery, and I certainly, no shame in admitting that. But also when I had depression earlier on in my life, when I was younger, I did actually turn to exercise, as it's one of the most underutilized antidepressants, because I had very mild depression in my teenage years and it wasn't due to any sort of major trauma, and I was able to help myself without medication. But I think in certain circumstances, if it's needed, then people certainly shouldn't be ashamed to admit that they need that little extra bit of help.
Yeah, true. But it's very interesting what you said about putting a mask on, because I remember just after I started my classes, and I had a few months coming to classes, and obviously I start every class with the question that how are you all, and everyone's like, yeah, I'm fine, it's all good. And after a few months, we had an absolutely rotten week with sicknesses at home, and I did not sleep for a week or so. And then I went into the class and I asked how are they all, and then they said, yeah, all fine, all good. And I just said, I'm really not well, like we've had a rotten week, and then I even had a few like tears or whatever. And then after I said it, another mom started crying, saying that I'm so tired. We've not been sleeping for 3 weeks. And then from that point, I'm not saying that we had a crying mama every week, but then I think that was like a cutting point in my classes, where obviously, apart from having fun, everyone realized that this is like an honest environment, and you don't have to be always fine and always happy. It can be just sometimes really horrible.
Yeah.
And we don't have to put the mask on and then go in and say, yeah, it's all okay. But we try to help each other to feel better whilst we are there.
I think that's so important. Is part of the reason I didn't speak out sooner is because I was just really scared of judgment. And I think something that I think both of us are very passionate about Dora is providing a safe, non-judgmental and friendly environment for mums, and I think that's certainly what's needed to encourage each other to speak honestly and support each other.
Yeah, that's why I really love in your courses that it's so relaxed and chilled environment, and it's non-judgmental. And even though I knew 3 of you there, and I didn't know 3 other ladies, I found it harder to be honest and open in front of that 3 who I knew prior, because I thought, okay, what they are going to say. But then after the second session, I just felt it's so nice and everyone is just so open and honest that I had no fear to say the bits what I'm struggling with and what are my problems. Oh yeah, very much.
You're welcome. I'm so pleased.
And I have a mum who wanted me to ask this from you.
Okay.
For my class is that, have you got any special tricks or ideas for multitasking? Because apparently you should know what to do when you are overwhelmed with tasks.
Okay, so we actually do a session on this in my course about life admin, and we prioritize. So thinking about what is urgent and what is important, and what other things we can leave by the wayside. So for instance, yesterday I shared on my social media, I woke up feeling really anxious. I had 2 work meetings, and then all the work that I'd planned to do to follow up from that while my little boy slept didn't happen because he didn't nap. And it was a really stressful day, and I thought, oh, I haven't done the housework yet, I haven't responded to all of my emails. And actually I used my own advice and said, well, do you know what, I've not been coming round for tea, so it's not urgent that I hoover the whole house. You know, if I miss an opportunity from one email, that's fine, another one will come, I can send it later. It wasn't urgent or vital that I had to do it at that point, and that really just helped me. And I got the bare minimum done. You know, we were fed, we were bathed, we were warm. That's the main thing, really. And today I made sure I took a long drive home from preschool, so he napped, and I managed to get some stuff done. And it wasn't the end of the world that it didn't get done yesterday. So I think it's just really choosing what is important to you and not trying to take on too much. I think as mums, we try and force ourselves to be this superwoman with, you know, immaculate, well-behaved, sleeping children in a beautiful home with freshly cooked dinner, with wonderful figures and healthy bank balances. And you know what? The reality of that is the fact that actually we don't have to be perfect. And don't judge yourself so much. Give yourself a break, because I think we all deserve it.
Yeah, exactly. Few people ask me that when I do my workouts at home, how do I do it around the kids, and because their children are climbing on them, or they want some snacks or nappy changing or a poo or whatever, while they are actually exercising. And I'm that, yeah, when I started exercising at home, I got really, really angry. And my son was not sitting still whilst I was exercising. But I got to the point that I let it go, and I accept the fact that, okay, I'm exercising at home. If I can do only 10 squats, it's still 10 squats. And we just enjoy it together. And I'm not trying to do perfect. It's just, yeah, I take every day as it is. Once if I have a good workout, that's good. Once if I have a bad one, that's fine as well.
It's taking that pressure off and using mindfulness in that as well, that when you're working out, like you say, enjoy it. That's the whole point. And however you get done. But you know, my son loves yoga, but his attention span is about 5 minutes. So we'll do that together 5 minutes, and then it might be that we need to run around for a little bit. And you know, my exercise is only 15 minutes that day. But you know, if I'll do a few squats while I brush my teeth, and And hey, that's a little bit of extra exercise, but same as you, Dora, I take the pressure off and I don't force myself to have to fit in this perfect workout. It's about doing what makes me happy and being there for my son when he needs me as well.
Yeah, exactly. So what are your plans for the near future? I know that you are getting ready for your gala event. So please tell us a bit about it, and then again other non-secret plans.
Fabulous. So I'm very excited for the gala event. It's a completely free charity evening that I'm holding in aid of pandas for pre and postnatal depression and support, which I know, Dora, you and your mums have fundraised for in the past as well. It's a really vital service for volunteers. There is a support line that parents that feel overwhelmed or their friends, family or colleagues can contact at any time. But they don't receive a huge amount of funding at all. So I just feel it's really important to give something back, as I wish I'd found them when I was really struggling. So the event, as I said, is completely free because I want it to be open to everybody in our community that wants to attend. It's an evening event at Chobham Community Centre on Monday the 18th, so less than a week to go. And there'll be a complimentary glass of Prosecco or orange juice on arrival. We have a wonderful singer and DJ who's very, very talented, who'll be there all evening for us. There'll be complimentary beauty treatments and makeovers as well. And I'll also be giving a talk about wellness services in our community. So it'll be a really fun, relaxed event. I would say, because it's an evening event, leave the kids at home and come and enjoy yourselves, let your hair down. But really it's just a chance to get to know what support networks are available in our local community, and a chance to win some wonderful prizes in our raffle. So that's how we're going to be fundraising. Raffle tickets will be on sale, and I've been overwhelmed by the generous donations of lots of businesses in our local community, and there's something for everyone. So it'll be great to see as many people there as possible. After that, I'll be doing a mindfulness workshop for members of Busy Lizzie and Woking, which is great. I'm linking up with Daisy First Aid, which is on the 20th of March for a paediatric first aid and mindfulness course. I'm also linking up with Bev from Happy Heart Coaching to run a course for our mums about confidence and resilience as well, which I think is hugely important. And obviously my next term starts on the 25th of February for evening courses for mums of older babies, toddlers to teenagers. And mum and baby classes will be held in Busy Bees Nursery in Knapp Hill, and that starts on Monday mornings on the 4th of March. And I still do my one-on-one mindfulness therapy sessions as well, which include the mindfulness itself, guided meditation and an aromatherapy facial. So busy lady.
Wow. I don't know how you fit all of this in your life, but it's amazing, and all amazing collaborations with everyone, and I'm really looking forward to see more like details and photos and everything. And obviously we are going to be on the gala evening and planning to bring friends along, so
perfect.
I'm very excited about it. So where can people find you?
Okay, so I am on Facebook, Instagram, and I have a website as well. So I'm the Made Up Mum, but mum is spelt M-O-M, like the American way, because that's what I always used to call my mum. So it's just but I have a website which is www.emmathemadeupmom.com. My Instagram name is The Made Up Mum, and if you search at The Made Up Mum on Facebook, it will take you to my business page, which is Mindful Motherhood courses and workshops.
Great, thank you very much. Please look up Emma and follow her, because she is very active on social media, and every content what she puts out there is really, really helpful. From little advices, just like tips how you can survive if you have a tough day, and she's spreading the love. So just check her and follow her. Thank you very much, Emma. It was a real pleasure to talk to you. And yeah, I will see you on your gala event.
I'll see you then. Take care.
Thank you.